I've heard that this is the last of the Sony Marvel universe, and I don't like that at all. Please keep this going. I don't think I've given any of them a grade above a C, but I always look forward to them. Just saying, there's a lot of movies in the MCU that I've recommended, but will probably only see once. However, I've seen Madam Web twice. If Kraven the Hunter is the last, though, they're going out in a blood-soaked blaze of glory with the most sadistic, ruthless hero they've had yet. If you're lucky, he'll just slash your throat. In other instances, he'll slam a bear trap on your face or bite your nose off and spit it at another person. And with the press calling him the Hunter, it's like you're watching an old vigilante movie crossed with a Tiger Shroff action film with the musical numbers taken out. The movie is batshit, with all the flaws you'd expect, but so much more. Yes, there's bad ADR, of course, with hair conveniently covering people's faces when they talk. There's bad CGI, but it's hilarious about it. Like when a CGI lion is killed, and then his head is mounted on the wall, and the head is still CGI, like it's a shot from Big Buck Hunter out in the lobby. It opens with a random action scene so we can get the main actor there in the first scene, then cut to his origin by saying 16 years earlier. The dialogue is bad and the acting is a bit shaky, but they do at least have actors whose charisma can carry the underwritten characters. Especially when saying exposition-heavy lines like, "I work for the most powerful law firm in the company. I know, you are the top lawyer at the firm." There's performances here that don't even match the scenes that they're in. Like Russell Crowe as every Cold War Russian villain saying, "Men should be the only predator who is feared." And then his son is like, "You're an asshole." It's also like the actors are characters from their other movies. Crow is like the Russian cousin of his Winter's Tale character, and since they have Crow in it, they gotta do a shot from Gladiator. Why not? Fred Heschinger from Gladiator 2 is in it as well. You've got Alessandro Nivolo having so much fun, it's like he's playing Pollux Troy again. Then Christopher Abbott shows up like he's his possessor character, only with teleportation powers. There's actually way too many villains here. There were already too many villains, then halfway through they just introduce more. Kraven's kind of a supporting character here, like it's already jumped to being a sequel where it's too cluttered with villains. It's also too long. This kind of thing should only be about 90 minutes and not 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it was still never boring. I can't in good conscience give it anything above a C, but God, I would watch a sequel to this. And at least it wasn't as long to sit through as the next one. How can this feel long? It's called The End, and we see the title card that says The End only a minute in, after there were so many production companies and executive producers that they just stuck them all on one title card. So in the end, it's decades after there was some kind of apocalyptic event, so a wealthy family led by Tilda Swinton and Michael Shannon live out their lives in a fancied out salt mine with their friend and their butler, until a stranger comes in and, I don't know, it doesn't turn into a thriller or anything. There's just more awkward conversations as characters deal with guilt, denial, and stifling any emotion they can while pretending everything's all normal in the mines. This is how you'd act if you lived in a bunker and the only entertainment you have are a few Wes Anderson DVDs and maybe a copy of White Noise. Oh yeah, and it's also a musical for no reason. The musical numbers, if you can call it that, feature singing that's not very good and made me wince a few times, and takes an already snail's pace film and drags it out to a ridiculous 2.5 hour runtime. None of the songs stand out. They're all very samey, like just a lot of talk singing their dialogue. There's not enough happening here to merit how truly long this felt. Watching it, I was was like, for the love of God, invite Captain Rhodes into the bunker to shake things up a little, or can I just watch the Burt Reynolds movie instead? The characters also aren't interesting enough to spend this much time in a small location with. There were only a couple of things of enjoyment I got out of it. Michael Shannon has a few funny moments as he looks like Jack Torrance crossed with David Letterman, but my favorite thing wasn't even the movie itself. There were two people in the audience. There was a lady in front of me, and then there was a guy in front of her. And about 30 minutes in, the guy fell asleep and was snoring loudly. There he was, reclined in his seat, mouth open, drool, like he was my grandpa taking a nap. It got so loud that the lady got up and woke him up at one point, but I guess he figured that he'd probably just fall asleep again, so he got up and left and never came back. It's not gonna top my worst of the year list, but honestly, it was the hardest movie I sat through this year. It's ambitious, it's not a cynical company movie like Kraven, but it was such a claustrophobic slog that it almost made me want to bump Kraven up to an A+. For me, this was a D. I really didn't like this experience at all. I think it made me go lenient on the next movie, too. Oh, thank God. I never thought I'd be so happy to see a creepy man in a white van show up. That's right, set in the 1970s, the man in the white van is like you're sometimes watching a family TV drama of the time, crossed with a teenage girl coming-of-age movie, and then a serial killer in a white van keeps showing up. I like that since we don't really see much of the killer, it's like the van itself is the main villain in it. The movie is okay. It's sort of a throwback to post-1978 Halloween knockoffs. There's actually a lot of similarities. The killer's always stalking her in a vehicle and standing outside her window. It's got a few scenes that really redo some parts of Halloween. The movie is set around Halloween, and it'd be too on the nose to call the lead Lori, so they call her Annie. Close enough. But at least it brings in the van from prom night instead. It's a mixed bag. I liked some lines, like when she says her prayers at night and thanks God for Creedence, Skinnerd, and the Allman Brothers. Then it has some pretty on-the-nose parts, like when she falls off her horse and her dad says, remember, if you fall, it's the getting back up that matters. Or when she's in school and watching a video of a snake stalking its prey. It's a very, very, very slow burn that's padded out with a lot of flashbacks to other killings that are pretty repetitive and don't add much to the story. There's one too many fake-out jump scares, and the family isn't really likable enough for me to want to spend this much time with them, but that said, they're a step above the end. It's got the world's dumbest parents, too. The girl is clearly being stalked. The killer is not subtle about it at all. But her parents are like, she's been like this ever since we got her the horse. Perhaps it was a mistake getting her the horse. There's moments of suspense that work, and through a lot of it, they capture the look of a movie like this from the 70s. Except when it gets to the more action-y parts, where there's a lot of shakiness and quick cuts that make the action a little hard to follow. It's never a bad film, just an underwhelming one, especially the ending. It's a C+, it's probably fine to watch at home, and I guess technically it's the better of the three movies I watched that day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Click on the links in the comments and in the description to get a copy of my new book, and we'll see you next week.